what have been the most popular shows of St. Louis in Tune in 2024 and the most unbelievable jokes that we've been withholding for all of our listeners. Going to find out now on St. Louis in Tune. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune, and thank you for joining us for fresh perspectives on issues and events with experts, community leaders, and everyday people who make a difference in shaping our society and world. I'm Arnold Stricker, along with co-host Mark Langston. Mark, we went through our 300th show. We didn't celebrate. Things were just rapidly going on, and we've both been out of town, and we finally both get together, and we can take a look at some of the highlights of 2024 and tell our listeners which ones they enjoyed the most.
Oh, the thing that scared me, though, is something you just said. Some of the jokes that you're going to tell.
I've been withholding these jokes.
Oh, lordy.
Because these are like classic jokes.
Oh, no.
So make sure we have the Pistachio Gallery lined up and ready to roll. Yeah, there they are. Thank you. Oh, okay, I heard that up there.
Lordy, I know. So you've been holding these back.
I've been holding these back.
These weren't just really bad jokes that you thought, I better not use those on the show?
No, these are really, really good ones.
Wait, what you think is good and what I think is good.
And that's like our shows. What you and I thought were really good shows, there are a couple that the listeners said, those are really good. And then the listeners listened to some and thought, wow, I really like this. And we were like, okay, that was a good show, but maybe not our best show.
And I listened to some of the shows. I was in and out of town, unfortunately, quite a bit towards the end of the year. And there's some shows that you did solo that I wish I had been part of, and they were very interesting. So.
Yeah, I wish you had been there too, because they were interesting.
Yeah, there was a couple there that
from the Jewish Book Festival. Yes.
Yeah,
we'll talk about.
We always have a good time with authors from the Jewish Book Festival.
Yes, they bring in a lot of good folks.
JCCA, I think, does that. Yeah, yeah, that's always fun.
So we're glad that you joined us today, folks. You can listen to previous shows at stlintune.com. Please help us continue to grow by leaving a review on the website, Apple Podcast, or your preferred podcast platform. So
I bet you've gotten some reviews. Okay.
Yes, we have. Our return to civility today, and I think people do this without thinking. Ask if it's okay before taking someone's photograph. Some people feel awkward being photographed, and if you don't know the person, they may worry about what you're going to use the picture for. And especially now with this AI thing, they've been told, hey, don't take pictures of your kids, don't post them on the internet, social media, don't do that. A lot of these are just publicity things. We do some of those things, and they're here just to promote the show and to promote the people who come on the show.
Yep. I know I was the dad that always went on the field trips with the kids at school, and I was always reminded, if you're going to take a picture of the kids, you take a picture of their feet. You get them all when they're facing the other way.
Right.
We don't want an actual a frontal picture. So a couple of times when we were out in the woods or at a waterfall or something, I'd say, everybody please turn around.
Yeah.
So they'd all turn around.
Put your hands on your face.
And I'd take a picture of them. I know they'd all be looking at the waterfall or something like that.
And if you go on Google Earth and you're following Google Earth and where they drive by people, they've blurred their faces.
Oh,
or blurred their license plates.
Okay.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's probably all AI done. I can't see somebody sitting there. I'm going to blur your face out here. Blur your license plate.
Yeah, you're right. AI should, one of the AI uses.
Yes. Productive uses.
Yeah.
So ask if it's okay before taking someone's photograph, folks.
Wow. I can think of manners for other things you need to ask for, too, before you do things. But that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, it is. We had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had a lot of shows last year.
Yes, we did. Okay.
And some of them ranged from things related to St. Louis, obviously St. Louis in Tune, St. Louis-related kinds of shows. We did several shows on music that weren't necessarily related to St. Louis. No. And music's always a fun thing, especially when we have the musicians in studio.
Yeah.
Several things about food and we'll get into some specifics of these. Cultural things, which Society and Culture, we are listed under Society and Culture in Apple Podcasts. There's a lot of things that we deal with the culture and society. Theater, several things related to that. Let's see, sports. We did several sport kinds of things. Literature, we mentioned the Jewish Book Festival, and also film. A little, I don't want to call it a potpourri, but we do a variety of things. And I didn't include actually any history because history would fall under some of those St. Louis things, some of those cultural things. And
a lot of credit should go to Arnold, folks, because it is really difficult. I don't know if folks understand how difficult it is to book a weekly show and find a guest, an interesting guest. You can certainly grab somebody, but to find someone that's interesting with a topic that's timely, it's not as easy as it seems.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of interesting things out there, and we've done several non-for-profit groups because it's tough for them to get their message out, and we don't mind doing that. And books, we don't mind talking about books because the authors are very interesting. Sometimes the topics, I've got a couple lined up that I think people will be very interested in next month in February. So
one thing I like about the shows, too, is, yes, they might be a topical, timely subject, but because it's an hour-long show, we always go in, we drill down, I guess is what we get in the weeds a little bit, if you will. And so the shows are timeless. So you can go back and listen to some of these shows and learn things about that particular subject, individual, whatever they're doing. It's great because you can go back and still learn about the subject that we're going over in that show.
That's true. They do resonate over time. There's not just, and sometimes
that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, sometimes there's something that maybe is timely, the Festival of Nations or the Ice Sculpture Festival down in the Loop, things like that. But there are other aspects of the show that people might find interesting, etc., like that. So.
Yeah, because the Festival of Nations, it's presented by the International Institute of St. Louis, and not only did we talk about that, but we talked about some of the things that they're doing at the International Institute.
Correct.
And some of the good things that they're doing.
So Mark, and I'm throwing you a curveball, we all have our favorites, folks, things that we have enjoyed. And I guess as a conversationalist, because when I talk to people about coming on the show, a lot of people will say, it's going to be an interview. And I say, no, we're just going to have a conversation in the living room. And Mark alluded to this, and I appreciate him doing that, is that we don't have to pause for station ID or going to weather or going to traffic, and we can go for a solid hour. As a matter of fact, the first 100 shows we did were actually 2-hour shows. And so we're only on show, this is 327, but when you take the first 2 years of couple hundred shows
divided by 2.
Yeah, so we're well above 500 shows that we've done. This is our 8th year, by the way.
Wow.
Our 8th year of doing this, Mark.
Wow. Now I came in.
You came in at show 100.
I was right around there. Ellie Wharton, the general manager of the station before me, she was your hostess with the mostest.
So you're now the host with the most.
Right. I did, yeah. I lost the mostest. Okay. I know.
A lot of shows, folks. I tell you what, I'm going to let Mark think on that. This is the show that individuals who were listeners thought was the highlight show, and it was the show called Echoes of John Denver, Rick Schuler's Tribute Journey.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, it was a real interesting interview with Rick Schuler. He's a singer-songwriter, and he is a John Denver tribute artist. And he was born in Monroe, Louisiana, and raised in St. Louis, and he's been doing this tribute show of John Denver. He looks just like him, folks. He's in studio.
That was spooky.
It was creepy.
It was crazy.
And then he got his guitar out, and he sounded just, I was thinking, like,
wow,
this is John Denver sitting right here in studio with us.
It was alarming. No, it was... but it was really neat, though.
And he's a very personable guy. He's actually done some archaeological digs over in the Middle East, and you can go to his website. You can go to that show and find out more about it. But he did some things related to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I was like, what?
Oh, my.
And,
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so we have to come back and talk about just the archaeological kind of side of him.
Yeah.
But he's been continuing to do these shows, and it has a lot of great fun with folks. He and even the family of John Denver and John Denver's old manager said, "Gosh, dude, you're the deal."
Yeah, there was an endorsement, I think, of him, of his work. Yeah, which is really nice. It's neat. I mean,
that by far was the heads above. Like in education, you could actually see dividing lines where things need to be drawn.
Right.
This one was 4 times greater than the next show, which ended up there's several kind of in a ballpark. There was Pretty Boy, which is about a movie that was made here in St. Louis, and the struggles that individual had with identity. There was ELO, Mr. Blue Sky, and we always enjoy having him in studio. There was Engineering Marvels, the World's Fair, the 1944 World Series, Baseball Memories. Then there's a dividing line. Also, the Rock Walls to Canoes. That was where we're talking about it's the Missouri, there it is. Exciting Adventures at the Gateway Outdoor Festival. Brad Kovac, he came in and talked.
Okay.
And that was that was actually the 4th popular show.
I can't wait to get to that at some point.
Yeah, and he had talked, they had moved that show out to St. Charles, and they had rock climbing, and they had a lot of outdoor kinds of things. It's basically a big outdoor adventure, commercial and convention for people who like the outdoors. So a lot of different things you can do. This is the place to get the latest equipment. These are some things you can do in the metropolitan St. Louis area and in the region. The film things that Mark had alluded to at the beginning of the show were things that were done through the St. Louis Jewish Book Festival, and these were of the new American anti-Semitism, the left, the right, and the Jews, the high stakes of global hostage and prisoner negotiations. And I interviewed, he was in Tel Aviv at the time for that interview. Another one was Irina's Gift, How Love and Kindness Defy the Darkness of War. There was a family that had a hidden past that involved the Holocaust. And then Challenging Beliefs. Derek Black renounced his family's white nationalism.
Oh, yeah.
That was an interesting read, let alone have an interesting conversation with him.
That was a show that I was not with you on, but I enjoyed listening to.
Yeah.
It was a great show, yeah. Because he was against it, and it was his family or member of his family that was involved in it.
Yeah, he even grew up. His dad was head of the White Nationalist Party in the United States. His godfather was David Duke, head of the KKK at the Grand Wizard. And Derek was, as a youngster, he was doing these national broadcasts and talking about this stuff. And in the book, it gets involved with what it actually did to his psyche. And then he goes off to a college that nobody knew who he was, and he kept to himself, kept all this stuff to himself. And what happened is eventually, when he actually was around blacks and Hispanics and Jewish people, his whole attitude changed. He said, I thought these individuals as I was growing up were, my words, the enemy, or were less than who I think they, and he found out that they were actually the people who stood by him when somebody found out exactly who he was. So that was fascinating.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We did talk about St. Louis sports. We talked a lot about the Cardinals. Ron Jacober and Bob Tiemann came in.
Yeah,
they're kind of
1964. We did one show on the 64 season of the Cardinals. I think Bob did that one. I think he came in for that.
It's so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
If any of you want to find out about any kind of, and it's just not St. Louis baseball, he's a big one in just baseball, Bob Tiemann's books. He's well known around the United States for his writing. And then Ron Jacober, who's like the
it's good to see
my favorite sports broadcaster who's still around. I remember watching him on Channel 5.
Yeah. It was great to have him in the studio. It was like he came in and
I think, Mark, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of the guests, we both make them feel very comfortable. It's not like we have lounge chairs here or lazy boys in the studio where we're sitting around and drinking whatever. But we try to make them feel comfortable because a lot of people get nervous when they have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on the radio.
I
Right?
know,
Oh,
yeah.
this is going to be everywhere now. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. All these platforms. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we make them feel comfortable. And a lot of folks, I think, after the interview are like, hey, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I want to do that again. That was 30 minutes. That was 40 minutes. Wow, that went by quickly.
I know. And that's what they all like, is that we don't, you go to other programs and we got 20 minutes tops, or we got 15 minutes. And sometimes I'm even watching television and some of the news reports, and I'm like, they just touch on these subjects. And I go, I wish they would just go a little further,
Yeah.
a little deeper on these subjects. Oh, we have 8 minutes. We're out of time. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you later.
Here's my stock questions that I want to ask no matter
Right,
what.
right.
And you and I, we listen to the people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't need these questions because they're going down a road. I really want to hear what that's about.
Right, yes.
There was a guest we had right near the end of 2024, and I'm looking that up right here. He made a very interesting comment to me. It was, it was this year, and it was the show about the Las Vegas sex trafficking that's going on out there.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I really appreciate that you didn't ask me stupid questions. He said, and this was off the air, so you won't hear this on the show. But he said off the air, I get questions like, aren't these women and girls, don't they deserve what they get?
Unbelievable.
And he said, those are just
stupid
questions.
I'll say it.
Because he was revealing how they are actually the victims. And however we see, granted this is a 2025 show, however we see the situation that they're in, and maybe they're making money, but their lives, how did they get to that point? And that's what he was bringing out.
Yeah,
So it's always good, and we talk about topics that I have an interest in, or Mark has an interest in, or maybe we find somebody and I'll read something online or hear something or see something and go. And sometimes I'll just email people and say, hey, do you want to come on the radio show and talk about this book or this topic? And sometimes I never hear back.
Right.
Sometimes I hear back right away. Sometimes it's I can't do it now, but we'll do it later. We've got another one coming up where the person's actually going to be in the Netherlands.
Aye.
She actually lives in the States, but she's in the Netherlands right now doing some research. That will take place from the Netherlands.
Can't imagine the time difference.
It's 7 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But she was really excited. Her
Gotta get up
publisher
at
was really
3 a.m.
excited about it.
Yeah.
So
one show that we did that I really enjoyed was Joe Soderman. He did a book called This Day in St. Louis. It's St. Louis history, I think it was. And a local broadcaster, works at some, I don't know which station it is. I don't know if it's
I think he's iHeart.
somewhere at iHeart. I don't know what he does. I mean,
He's a stitch.
He is a stitch. It was a surprisingly enjoyable interview. I don't mean to say that way. Sorry, Joe. And I've known Joe for a long time, just as being in the industry with him. But I had no idea. He did a lot of research on his book that he put out. And this wasn't the first book. He likes Route 66. Yeah.
He's the big 66 guy.
Yeah. Is it Route or Route? It's Route.
It depends upon what part of the country you're from.
I think
or
so.
what part of the state.
I looked it up in broadcasting school when I was at
Route.
And it was Route. They were really
Right.
But we say route around here.
That's correct.
I don't know. It's a route.
This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. We're talking about the shows from 2024. What were the shows that got a lot of listens? Mm-hmm. What were the shows that our listeners enjoyed the most, the least? What were the ones we loved the most? And some other ones, we did a couple shows on sex trafficking. Oh. There was a show that we had an in-depth discussion about EDMR therapy, and this was a show that was part of a secondary show that we had with Healing Action about trafficking and sexual exploitation. And that is another group within the St. Louis metropolitan area that assists those who have come out of sex trafficking. And if you think about individuals who are involved in they've abused drugs or alcohol, those you generally don't think about victims who have been in sex trafficking and what it takes to, my words, normalize them back to what you and I would have as a normal life. And they've normally been used to being abused, many times have had abusive relationships physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, and they've dealt with a lot of things from their childhood. Maybe they were abandoned, maybe they were abused as a child, maybe they were in foster care, who knows, a lot of different kinds of things. And then to help them become a productive part of society, there's a big thing to a ramp for them to get them back into society. Those were really heavy shows.
Yeah.
Those are shows we never do any humor on or anything like that because it's very serious topics, and we don't want to make light of those topics at all.
And I hate to even say they're educational. I think these are subjects we need to know about.
Yes.
Need to understand more about them, and this is a great opportunity for folks to just sit back and listen and hear what's going on.
Yes.
Because I don't think a lot of people in the suburbs, they're not privy to some of this tragic stuff that's going on like that.
And it's happening as St. Louis is I don't want to say a gateway, but it is a gateway of sex trafficking. Because of the location with the highways and for whatever other reasons. A show that I thought would have gotten a little more love was one that involved tangled home title issues and bringing vacant properties back to life. And that was a conversation we had with Peter Hoffman, who is the managing attorney for the Neighborhood Advocacy at Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. Mm-hmm. And they do a great job of helping individuals who there's a developer who wants to come in, and there's a gazillion people on the title, and so they have to get everybody figured out, or who actually has title, who actually owns his property has passed down.
Right.
And nobody has the paperwork to show that, so they have to do a lot of legal digging. And this is a group that works a lot in North St. Louis to help individuals up there. And the attorneys, many of the attorneys work pro bono to help folks out up there. So that was a really good show.
Yeah, that is a real big issue, too. My wife, Maria, works at a credit union, and they have a problem with that all the time. When folks come in trying to get a loan or whatever, they can't. It's just like mom dies and everybody stays in the house, and the house just moves over, and nobody knows who owns it anymore.
Right.
It's gone through a generation or two, and they stay in the home, and it's who really owns it.
And it's hard, because what are you going to do then?
Who knows how to do that stuff? Who can navigate that? And if you are not a person of any means at all, if you have no money or very little money, and you're just hoping to keep a roof over your head, how do you even, where do I find a lawyer that's going to help me with that? That's going to cost money.
Yeah. Where do you start?
Yeah, exactly.
And this group they help you start that and finish that process.
Probate court? What is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's going to represent me in that?
The state taking more of my money.
Oh, yeah. They like it. That's what they like to do.
So we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back for our next segment. This is St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston on the U.S. Radio Network. The United States has a strong tradition of welcoming newcomers and refugees. The Welcome Corps is a new service opportunity for Americans inspired to welcome those seeking freedom and safety, and in turn help strengthen their own communities. Welcome Corps is a public-private partnership that is inspired by what Americans represent to so many around the world, a beacon of hope and refuge. All it takes is a helping hand. Are you ready to learn more? Contact the International Institute of St. Louis at info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. That's info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. This is Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune on behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page. On behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation, this has been Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune. Welcome back to St. Louis in Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. And Mark, I'm surprised that Congress has not, and the U.S. Postal Service has not adopted a Dred and Harriet Scott stamp yet.
It's amazing
of
to
all
me.
of the things that they let go on stamps.
I can't.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I've watched them release stamps that are like, what? And Dred Scott got nothing.
Yeah, and let's put Harriet on there too, Dred and Harriet Scott, because they were both.
Oh, we're going to play that commercial until it happens. And I can't. We've been playing it for a year or so.
Long time.
Yeah.
We recorded that when Lynn was on the show. This is Dred and Harriet Scott, great-great-granddaughter.
Right. It's just amazing.
You need to have her back on and talk about that.
And they have, don't they have statues at the...
Yes, down at the Civic Courts building.
Right.
Downtown. Mm-hmm.
Downtown St. Louis.
Yes, and matter of fact, Preston Jackson did that statue. He did a statue down, he didn't do the Dred and Harriet Scott. That's actually down at the courthouse. Then there's one at the Civic Courts building that Preston Jackson, who's been on the show several times, he did a sculpture about those individuals who had tried to get the freedom suits, and we did a show on that too several years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why? It's a stamp.
Yeah.
Give it up. Come on.
It's weird.
All the other stuff you guys do.
It's just plain weird.
Do something. Never mind.
One of my favorite food shows we did, Mark, was with Freddie Lee. And
Freddie Lee.
It was on his barbecue sauce.
Yep.
When he, as a hobby, he did this, and now he's like the sauce master.
Yep.
And he's the creator of Freddie Lee's ghetto sauce.
Yeah. But Schnucks, is it Schnucks or Deerberg?
It's Schnucks.
Won't let him put ghetto sauce in.
It's
American sauce.
American sauce, right? But you go to Deerberg's, it's ghetto sauce.
It's ghetto sauce, but they just didn't like the word ghetto sauce.
Right. They didn't think that would fly out in certain parts of the area.
If you've had it, you'll be fine with it.
Oh, yeah. It's regular and spicy.
It's so good. I know.
Yeah, it's really good.
And he brought free samples.
He did.
And I used mine up, and we went out and bought some more to support him.
Went over to his place one day, and he took me on a little tour of his facility. Yeah. Oh. It was very nice.
And his wife, kudos to his wife. She's the one. She's the brains behind the distribution of I think it's on Amazon now. You can buy it.
Yes.
She had to have plastic, but they had to do plastic containers instead of glass.
Yes, and he talked about certain kind of plastic because when it goes into the plastic, the sauce is hot. So it had to sustain the heat and not melt and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but boy, it's hot.
It's good.
Yeah, it's very good. It's really good. Highly recommended.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and he hasn't asked us to endorse it, but we are.
That's right.
And I like the ghetto sauce.
Can't forget about our what I call St. Louis in Tune's baseball trivia historian.
Oh, yeah.
Ed Wheatley. There
Ed Wheatley?
Ed Wheatley, yes.
Right. He knows a lot about the Browns.
Yeah.
And he does that luncheon every year, the Browns luncheon.
Yes.
I've been to that luncheon
They have
one time.
baseball games at the Grizzlies.
Oh.
The Gateway Grizzlies, where they have St. Louis Browns bobblehead.
Yes.
Do a lot for that.
And they have a big luncheon, and they bring in
guests.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big time guys.
Yeah. A lot of people that you probably know.
Yeah.
That you've heard of.
Mark, do you have a favorite?
You know, what I really liked two shows, the ELO guy and the Atlanta Rhythm Section guy.
Ooh, yeah.
The ARS and the ELO.
Yeah.
The ELO guy, Jeff Faulkner, he puts a lot of time and effort and energy into recreating ELO.
Yes.
And ELO was I think they were on tour this last year.
They were.
For their final, maybe, hoopla. I don't know if it was a final one, but...
Final landing?
Yeah. But Jeff has put together a lot of musicians that... And can you imagine, if you're familiar with ELO's music, just trying to recreate that? And they do an unbelievable job on it.
Yeah, the harmony parts, and do a great job.
Oh, yeah. If he ever comes back, grab that show, go into the archives and listen to it, because there's some really good... I was actually looking for some music here I wanted to play, but I can't find any. But it's remarkable how they recreate ELO's music.
Yeah, and to find these shows, folks, you can go to the website, stlandtune.com. There's a search engine up in the upper right-hand corner, and you can plug in any topic, and it will list for you those shows that have that particular topic.
And I think ELO's Legacy Lives On is the name of that show.
Yeah, we have done 2 or 3 shows with Jeff.
Yeah.
But last time he brought Jake in, who plays cello.
That's right. Yeah, see there. What band do you know has a cello in it?
Yeah.
There's not many.
No.
You could probably count them on one hand.
He's got it together.
Our rock band has a cello.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he went out and found somebody with a cello.
Because ELO has those kinds of that sound.
And then the Atlanta rhythm section. I had
Rodney Justo.
There you go. Thank you. I was trying to figure out and remember what his name was. They did something very similar in their performances, too.
Yeah, and they have, because a lot of those guys have left or passed on, and Rodney's one of the remaining original. He's one of the original band members, and he left the group for a while, but that was a fun interview with him.
Right. Yes, it was. Now... There's one other, the Browns versus the Cardinals in the 1944 World Series. We did a show on that. Who was our guest on that?
Ed Wheatley.
Was it Ed? Okay. That was a very fascinating show. He did a book on that, I believe.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, I remember looking through that book.
A lot of things, folks, we don't plug these things. This is an interest out there. If you've got some hobby or you've got a time to read these things, take a look at these things, listen to these things, check them out, find out more information about the city that you live in.
Yeah, what a historical time, though, with the Cardinals and the Browns at the same time.
Absolutely.
Making that break, and Augie Bush getting in the thick of I guess the owners now,
right.
they had something to do with the Browns, was it? Yeah, which I didn't know.
DeWitt Sr. was an owner of the Browns, and that was called the Subway Series, not Subway, the Streetcar Series.
That's it.
That's the Streetcar Series.
Wow.
Grand and Dodier was the Sportsman's Park back in the day.
What's there now, Walmart?
No, there's a... yeah, probably.
I know.
No, there's a Boys and Girls Club there. And
that's right. That's right.
There's one more show I wanted to mention. It was a show that talked about exploring bias and censorship in high school debates. That's with James Fishback. And what he found out was that high school debaters, when they went to a debate tournament and found out who judges were, judges would say, I don't want to hear anything about this, don't tell me anything about this. And it was more that you had to align what you were saying with their particular political philosophy or you got marked down. And so he formed a group that's called Incubate Debate, and it was a non-biased, because debate is supposed to be non-biased. That's what debate's all about.
Right.
You prepare both sides of an argument, you're given a topic, and you're told which side you're going to defend or represent.
Right.
And then the judge judges the aspects of the clarity of your debate, how you were able to convince the points that you made. And it wasn't all about, you don't believe what I believe, so I'm going to mark you down, which is a sad state of affairs because debate and dialogue and having free conversation is important in our country. And we've gotten to the point where, in families, in businesses, in churches, in just your friendship group, a lot of people are like, if you don't believe what I'm believing, I'm not going to have anything to do with you. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
You mean my friendship doesn't mean as much to you as this thing does?
And that's one thing. It's not like it doesn't define who you are.
It's not the end of the world.
No, it's not. No. And do you like Coke or Pepsi? I might like Coke and you like Pepsi.
Yeah, and if you don't like Pepsi, I'm not going to have anything to do with you.
Yeah, what the heck is that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
What is that about? Can I mention one other one? There
Absolutely.
was I just saw it here, the Chronicles of Valor, the musical journey of the United States Air Force Band of Mid-America. We had him in, and that was a fascinating show, believe it or not, what that band does.
Yes. They do a lot of stuff. They play a lot of performances around the area here, and they're based over at Scott Air Force Base.
And, and they are talented.
They're very talented.
Boy, I've always enjoyed seeing them at some of these big events, but, boy, they were having some special shows and things that people could come and sit down and enjoy.
They do parades, and to check them out, folks, because they have small groups like ensembles and the large band group
discipline.
That will play. Yeah.
Talk about discipline.
Oh, my gosh.
They've got discipline.
I've been saving some jokes, Mark. And actually, this first one relates to some things that we would normally do, like a word of the day. But did you know these things had names?
What? No.
The space between your eyebrows is called a glabella.
A
glabella.
A glabella.
And the rumbling of a stomach is actually called a womble.
Okay.
And most people know this, that the prongs of a fork are called tines. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, also a pitchfork. They're tines. Tines of a rake. Those are the things.
Okay. Did not know that. Okay.
The tiny plastic table placed in the middle of a pizza box is called a box tent.
Didn't know that.
The day after tomorrow is called overmorrow. Overmorrow.
Okay.
The space between your nostrils.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
Is called columella nasi.
That's why I'm not a doctor. I couldn't.
Yeah.
That would have flunked
Let's
that.
see.
That would not have worked for me.
The dot over an I or an A is called tittle.
No, I call it a dot. Put a dot over your eye if it's a... Okay.
So here, a lot of inventions have happened, but before the crowbar was invented, crows had to drink at home.
Wow.
And I've had some problems with my teeth. A pastor went to the dentist for a set of false teeth. The first Sunday after getting his teeth, he preached for only 8 minutes. The second Sunday, he preached only 10 minutes. But the following Sunday, he preached nonstop for 3 hours until the congregation realized he couldn't quit and finally helped him sit down. Concerned for his health, they asked, "Are you okay? What's happened?" The pastor explained, "The first Sunday with my new teeth, my gums were so sore, I couldn't preach longer than 8 minutes. The second Sunday, I felt I could go a little longer to 10 minutes. But today, I mistakenly put my wife's teeth in and discovered I couldn't shut up."
Oh, God. Almost should not laugh at that. Wow.
We have people who don't eat meat.
Yes.
And we have people that eat meat. And there's this conversation between two people like that. And one says, "You shouldn't eat meat." And the other person says, "Don't worry, it's plant-based." And they say, "That's awesome. Which plant?" The person says, "The meat processing plant."
Of course.
Speaking of pastors, a new pastor was visiting in the homes of the parishioners. At one house, it seemed obvious that someone was at home, but no answer came to the repeated knocks at the door. Therefore, he took out a business card and wrote Revelation 3:20 on the back of it and stuck it in the door. When the offering was processed at the next worship service, he found that his card had been returned. Added to this was a cryptic message, Genesis 3:10. Reaching for his Bible to check out the citation, he broke up in gales of laughter. Revelation 3:20 begins, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." Genesis 3:10 reads, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, for I was naked."
I get it.
Now, this is an actual paper that was submitted by a student at school, and the student was given an F, but was given an A+ for creativity. The question was, in which battle did Napoleon die? And the student answered, his last one. These are really good. And as a former educator, I would have given this kid an A+ for creativity, too.
Yeah. How could you not?
Question 2. Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? On the bottom of the page.
Oh, yeah, it was, too. What are you going to do?
The River Rafi flows in which state? A liquid state.
Oh, yes.
What is the main reason for divorce? Marriage.
That makes sense to me.
I love this one. What is the main reason for exams? Failure. What can you never eat before breakfast? Lunch and dinner.
Thank you very much. Take a bow. What? Oh, wow.
This kid was really smart.
Yeah.
What looks like half an apple? The other half.
Give that kid an A.
Okay. I have a few more in this one. I can't even see this. I'm crying so much. If you threw a red stone into the blue sea, what will it become? A wet stone.
Oh, yeah, of course it will.
How can a man go 8 days without sleeping? Easy, sleep at night.
Oh, no.
How can you lift an elephant with one hand? You can never lift an elephant that has one hand.
Oh, my.
If you had 3 apples and 4 oranges in one hand and 3 oranges and 4 apples in the other hand, what would you have? Very large hands. Yeah, this. If you think about it, this kid's very creative.
I'd say so.
Listen to this. If it took 8 men 10 hours to build a brick wall, how long will it take 4 men to build it? No time at all. The wall was already built.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how can you drop a raw egg onto a concrete floor without cracking it? Any way you want, because a concrete floor is very hard to crack.
Wow, you've been holding out on us, buddy. You really have.
I wanted to save these for this particular show.
Wow.
So, the Super Bowl's coming up.
Yeah.
So you should be as excited about church as about the Super Bowl. So when your pastor makes a point this Sunday, pour Gatorade over his head.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Come here, Pastor.
9 things to think about, folks.
9?
9. Number 9. Death is the number 1 killer in the world. Number 8. Life is sexually transmitted. Number 7. Good health is merely the slowest possible rate at which one can die. Number 6. Men have 2 emotions, hungry and horny, and they can't tell them apart. If you see a gleam in his eyes, make him a sandwich. Wow. Number 5. Give a person a fish and you feed them for a day. Teach a person to use the internet and they won't bother you for weeks, months, and maybe years.
That's so true.
Number 4. Health nuts are going to feel stupid someday lying in a hospital dying of nothing. Number 3. All of us could take a lesson from the weather. It pays no attention to criticism. Number 2. In the 60s, people took acid to make the world weird. Now the world is weird and people take Prozac to make it normal. And number 1, life is like a jar of jalapeno peppers. What you do today might burn your butt tomorrow.
No.
And I don't know if you saw this. A cheese factory exploded in France.
No, I didn't see that.
Debris is everywhere.
Wow, that is really bad.
Now, if you're a senior out there, here's 10 commandments for seniors. Number 1, talk to yourself. There are times when you need expert advice.
That's right.
Number 2, in style are the clothes that still fit. Number 3, you don't need anger management. You need people to stop irritating you.
True.
Number 4, your people skills are just fine. It's your tolerance for idiots that needs work.
Right there with you.
Exactly. Number 5, the biggest lie you tell yourself is, quote, I don't need to write that down. I'll remember it, unquote. Number 6, on time is when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
Number 7,
agree.
You've noticed people your age are much older than you.
That's so true.
Number 8, aging has slowed you down, but it hasn't shut you up.
Okay.
Number 9, you still haven't learned to act your age, and I hope you never will.
That's good.
And lastly, number 10, 1 for the road means going to the bathroom before you leave the house.
Yep. And then you have to make a potty stop.
That's right. Anyway.
Okay.
Sometimes it's difficult to tell people that you just struggle with them.
Uh-huh.
So how do you tell someone politely that you don't like them?
I don't know.
You say, you're the Monday of my life.
Whoa, I like that. Yes.
Speaking of going to the bathroom, river dance was invented by an Irish family with 7 kids but only 1 toilet. On a computer, to reboot things or get back to a screen, certain kinds of several screens, Control, Alt, Delete.
Uh-huh.
All right, control yourself, alter your thinking, delete negativity.
What that is.
Control yourself, alter your thinking, delete negativity. That's a good one.
That makes sense.
And the weather's just been a roller coaster of temperatures.
Yeah.
It's flu season. This time of year, everyone should know the symptoms of the Amish flu. First, you get a little hoarse, then a little buggy. And now it's January after the holidays. People, they're going to all the fitness places.
Uh-huh.
And it's very important to keep fit because my grandma started walking 5 miles a day when she was 50. She's 72 now, and we don't know where she is. Speaking of grandparents, when my grandpa went bald, he built a machine to weave a wig from yarn. He gave it to my dad, and one day it will be mine. It's my family heirloom.
It's really bad. You're starting to slip, you know that, right?
And then this is just, it's interesting words of wisdom.
Uh-huh.
Always put a coat on before you answer the door. If you're happy to see them, tell them you've just gotten home. And if you don't want to see them, say you were just on your way out.
I love the idea. That's a guy like that. I got to remember that one. I know. That's good. I like that. That's it.
And here's a fun fact about bees.
Oh.
Most of them are actually allergic to pollen.
Oh, what?
When exposed to pollen, they develop hives.
Who knew?
And you and I had some coffee this morning.
Yes, we did.
The average human walks 900 miles per year and drinks 22 gallons of coffee. This means the average human gets 41 miles per gallon.
Oh, God. Okay.
Speaking of walking, when I was a kid, I had to walk 10 miles both ways through shag carpet just to change the TV channel.
I did too, I know.
Shag carpet.
Yep, I love it. Still.
And as you get older, you'll realize that a $300 watch and a $30 watch both tell the same time.
No kidding. Here, that's true.
A Michael Kors wallet and a Forever 21 wallet hold the same amount of money. A $300,000 house and a $100,000 house host the same loneliness. A Ford will also drive you as far as a Bentley.
Right.
True happiness is not found in materialistic things. It comes from the love and laughter found with each other. Stay humble. The holes dug for us in the ground are all the same size.
That's right. That's true. Wow.
There was a group that
true.
annually does Christmas caroling, and they went to, normally go to like old folks' homes, retirement centers, and hospitals and stuff. Well, they were doing a reeval and said, I'll never be asked to go caroling at the psychiatric hospital again. In hindsight, I guess singing Do You Hear What I Hear was not a great idea.
No. Sorry, I hit the mic. Wow. That's really bad. And we're laughing.
I'm trying to recover.
I don't know what's worse.
Oh. So
Okay.
we all get heavier as we get older because there's a lot more information in our heads. So I'm not fat. I'm just really intelligent, and my head couldn't hold anymore, so it started filling up the rest of me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I've got one more.
No. Okay, really? We got to do that. Okay.
That archaeologists working at the ancient city of Pompeii, Italy, uncovered the ruins of the house Keith Richards grew up in.
Take a bow.
Were those worth waiting for?
Yeah, I have to admit they were pretty good. They were okay. That was, yeah. I was a bit worried when I heard that you were going to do this today. Wow, those were good.
I've been saving those.
You have been. You've been squirreling those away. good for you.
We try to not only inform and educate and highlight certain things. Laughter is great medicine. I remember the Reader's Digest, laughter is the best medicine.
Right.
And when you can't cry, folks, you got to laugh, and
That's
it's a
it.
good stress reliever, and we don't laugh enough in our society anymore.
No, we don't.
So that's why we do that at the end of shows.
Yeah,
that's
like
why you
that.
got a special edition today.
I like it. I do. I like that a lot. That was good.
It puts you in a good mood.
Puts me in a good mood. It's about time.
Yeah.
I know. Wow. Good show.
Yes, it
Good
was.
stuff.
Yes, it was.
Good stuff.
So tune in. Continue to tune in, folks. Check us out at stlandtune.com. We thank you all for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can do a listen to additional. You can talk just like me.
Yeah.
Let's go backwards. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can listen to additional shows at stlandtune.com. Consider leaving a review on the website, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue to grow. We want to thank Bob Berthasell for our wonderful theme music, co-host Mark Langston for his extreme humor, and we thank you for being a part of our community of curious minds. St. Louis in Tune is a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. Remember to keep seeking, keep learning, walk worthy, and let your light shine. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.